I get it, you're staring at the night sky, thinking about that big, sleek telescope you saw online, and wondering if it's worth the money or if you'll end up with a fancy paperweight. A friend of mine was in the exact same spot last month, scrolling through endless reviews and spec sheets, trying to picture what actually setting up a telescope at home would feel like. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The biggest fear is spending a few $100s and then discovering it's either too clunky to move, too complicated to point, or just not delivering the views you imagined. When you pull the Celestron NexStar 8 SE out of the box, the first thing you notice is how compact it feels for an 8-inch instrument. At just under 24 pounds, the whole package, optical tube, mount, tripod, and even the included astronomy chair fits through a standard car door without a fight. That portability is a real win if you plan to take it to a dark site field or even just move it from the living room to the backyard on a clear night. It's not a backyard-only, permanent install piece. You can actually roll it out, set it up, and start looking up within 30 minutes. That quick start factor is something many larger observatory-style telescopes can't promise. The mount is where the NexStar 8 SE starts to feel a bit like a smartphone for stargazing. It's an Altitude-Azimuth design with a built-in go-to computer that talks to a database of over 40,000 celestial objects. The real trick is the sky-align routine. You point the telescope at 3 bright stars that you can easily spot, and the system does the math to figure out where it's looking. In practice, I found it surprisingly forgiving. Once you nail those 3 reference stars, the mount locks onto the target with a couple of seconds of slewing. The alignment isn't as rock-solid as a German equatorial mount for long-exposure astrophotography, but for visual sessions it's more than sufficient. The mount also tracks objects smoothly across the sky, which means you don't have to constantly nudge the telescope when you're watching a planet or a nebula. Now, let's talk optics. The 8-inch Schmidt Cassegrain tube is the heart of the system, and it really lives up to the exceptional views claim. With the included 25mm eyepiece, the focal length comes out around 2000mm, giving you roughly 100 magnification on the moon. The detail is crisp. Craters, rills, and even the faint terminator shading are clearly visible. Switch to a lower power eyepiece, and you can pull in the Orion Nebula or the Andromeda Galaxy and see structures that would be completely washed out in a smaller 4-inch scope. Because the tube folds the light path, the instrument stays short enough to fit on a tabletop while still delivering that big aperture light-gathering power. What makes this setup practical for everyday use is the included star diagonal and 25mm eyepiece, which means you're not forced to buy accessories right away. The diagonal lets you view objects comfortably from a seated position, which is a blessing when you've got kids or an elderly family member joining the session. The finder scope is a simple red dot pointer that, despite its low price, is accurate enough to get you onto a target before the go-to system takes over. All of that adds up to a system that feels ready to go right out of the box, rather than a collection of parts you have to hunt down yourself. Every telescope has trade-offs, and the NexStar 8 SE is no exception. The Altaz mount, while convenient for visual observing, introduces field rotation during longer exposures, which is why serious astrophotographers usually steer clear of this design. If you plan to dabble in deep sky imaging beyond short, lucky shots, you'll quickly run into the limitation. The weight, while portable compared to a full-size observatory tube, still means you'll need a sturdy surface or the included chair to keep the system stable. On a windy night, the 1.5-inch stainless steel tripod does its job, but you'll find yourself adding sandbags or a heavier base if you want rock-solid steadiness. Finally, the go-to database, while extensive, does need occasional updates. Celestron provides a software utility, but it's an extra step you have to remember to run every few months. Who should seriously consider the NexStar 8 SE? If you're an intermediate amateur who has outgrown a 4-inch Dobsonian but isn't ready to dive into a full equatorial setup, this is a sweet spot. It's ideal for backyard observers who love planetary detail, moon nights, and occasional deep sky sessions without spending a small fortune on multiple accessories. Families with budding astronomers will appreciate the chair and the ease of moving the whole rig to a patio or a campsite. The computerized alignment also helps those who don't want to memorize star charts but still want to explore a wide range of objects on a single night. Who might want to skip it? Absolute beginners on a very tight budget might find the price a stretch, especially when there are entry-level refractors that deliver decent views for half the cost. If you're primarily